Well, hi there, and welcome to our live hang number 9. This is your buddy Dave over MarsX3D, and we have some interesting things to look at tonight, not the least of which a nice shot of the chopper getting deployed off of Percy, and a number of new finds, and a whole bunch of little stuff I call little tiny treasures, actually, is what I'm calling it. And this is something I believe that Neil did with the Molly cam on Curiosity. And my gosh, there are tiny mechanical parts scattered all over the landscape. In fact, a whole bunch more than I'll present tonight. But because, you know, I just want to pick the things that are going to look good. But there's more there that doesn't translate well into X3D. So I'm just waiting for folks to walk in the door. I see that we have Mars the Second Genesis. Alan, very glad to know you're on the mend. That COVID thing is no joke, is it? Everybody I know that's had it said it was a real bear and a half. Ultraman is here. Hey, how you doing, my friend? And you know, with this beautiful spring weather, I don't blame people if they want to do something else tonight. In another month or so, when the days get longer, I think I'd rather be out bass fishing in my new kayak. Yeah, I finally splurged and got a nice angler kayak, a Loon 126 for those of you who are into it. And I haven't put it on the water yet. Water temps around here are still 40 to 50 degrees, and that's hypothermia within a few minutes if you fall in that water. So I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to wait till it warms up a little and the bass are on the feed. And nothing better. Hey, Pat. Pat, come on in. It's good to see you. So it's been a busy day, just trying to catch up. I think some of you who pay attention to scheduling know that I got the video out late this past week. And, you know, it's just getting so busy trying to put together a good video. I could put together a video real quick if I use crappy pictures. If I use images that everyone else uses. But I don't want to do that. And you guys you deserve better. And so I'm going to start relaxing the schedule a little bit. If I can get it done once a week, hey, that's great. But I also have honeydews to do. All of you married guys will know what those are. Hey, Martin, come on in, my friend. Good to see you. And not that she's mean about it. She's a sweetheart. But you know, I have to have a life too. And if I had 100,000 subscribers and was making my living off of the channel, that's one thing. But, you know, I do it strictly for fun. And sometimes if I'm trying to artificially adhere to a schedule that I set for myself, it starts being kind of not fun. I don't want it to ever go there. I want it to be fun and passionate. And especially with summer coming on, man oh man, this old homeboy is going to be out on the lakes in Maine going after those landlocked salmon and the stripers. Hey, Dale, good to see you. And Ricardo, yeah, Ricardo, it's true. I have other channels that I click the notification bell twice on, and I never get notified. It really stinks. That's YouTube for you. And, yeah. And Martin said he's looking forward to all the great images from the Mars helicopter. Well, I saw one online today, and it was a real piece of garbage. Now, granted, it hadn't taken off yet. It was just a photo of the ground, and maybe the ground is too close. I don't know. But seriously, it was a terrible picture. So I'm really hoping for more. I'm hoping that they bump the quality up considerably. So anyway, as I mentioned a little earlier, we have, long as we're talking about the chopper, I don't know if we have quite all the people that we want on board here just yet, but I'll probably show it later. So if you've got your X3D chops ready to roll, do you understand, folks, that you're weirdos? That you're like a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of 1% of the population in the world who understands and uses X3D. The rest are all in science and engineering and design and automotive engineering, you know, bioengineering, all of that stuff. That's where they use it. Very small cadre of very technical folks. And it's silly because it's so super easy to do, and you guys can do it, so that's very cool. Hi, John. Welcome aboard, man. Get your X3D chops going. Here comes a nice shot of the chopper on the ground. Percy has driven away, and really, I think you'll agree with me. That's a pretty sharp image, isn't it? I just wish all of them were that crystal clear. And I'm going to show you something. Ricardo, you're funny. Good pun, man. We are the visionaries. Quite literally, we are the visionaries. But, yeah. I'm going to show you an image later on in the live hang. It's a raw image from 2479 Curiosity, and you will be able to see exactly where the image has been redacted, especially when we go to the close-up. And you know, every now and then these guys who do the redacting will leave a little Easter egg, so to speak, in the image. Well, sometimes it's a rotten Easter egg, as is the case tonight. Hi, Don. I am doing fantastic. In fact, if I was any better at all, I'd be you. And that might be a little bit confusing. So, as long as we got a couple people on board here, I'll go ahead and launch into the images, and we'll go through them again for the late comers. But this is one from Percy 44, I think. And this is a context view. And really the picture, it looks pretty good. But when you zoom in on it, you begin to see that it's not that good. In fact, it's really no better than Curiosity. Welcome aboard, AC Stinnett Country Music. Good to have you here, sir or madam, whichever your preferred gender of choice is this evening. So I'd like you to look in the top third center. You see kind of a boxy looking rock sitting there in the center of the image. Well, here we go zooming in on it. And take a look at that. Now there are two 90-degree angles on the outside perimeter. At least one 90-degree angle on the interior. And look at the left corner. There's a great big knob on there. Great big button. And maybe a smaller one down on the right hand. That, my friends, is not a rock. It's not a rock at all. And there's James. Welcome aboard. Okay, my friend, you're 5 minutes late. That means you've got to put a quarter in the can by the door. And I was tempted to take that money and buy myself Easter treats, and I want you to know that I was overcome with shame, and that I even thought of that. So that money lies untouched, and one day will be invested in a humongous bag of Twizzlers for each and every one of you. And, oh yeah. Okay, all of our friends are showing up here tonight. Let me see what else we got here. I'll be sharing these little things. Okay, now this one might be a little hard on your eyes because it's not been cropped into a rectangular or square image. It's a straight giga macro. 1 times a quarter every minute you're late. Well, now, Ricardo, I'm not a bully, nor am I a dictator, because I've had to put my quarter in more than once. But this is actually a shot of the giga macro that all these tiny treasures come from. And when you go to the link, when I put the video up, and you go to the link, you will see all the marks. And you can see the flags on there now. All of the anomalies that I've marked on that giga macro are there for you to see when you simply click on the link when the video goes up. And you can zoom in on them to your heart's delight. And back again, welcome one and all. Live hang number 9. You know, it's taken this long, two months or better, to work out all the snags and to madly take supplements to replace those 3 brain cells that leaked out. That's how close I've come several times to perfection. 3 brain cells. Mighty close, I think you'll admit. But close just means you're first place at second. Anyway, we've got things running, I think, fairly smoothly at this point. And also have a nice anomaly that Phil Cox sent in this past week. And we're not going to look at that just yet. But here's something I found, one of the tiny treasures in that, let's see, what was that? I'm going to see. Yeah, it's the Curiosity 3070 Mollycam. And there are all kinds of little goodies all around the rover. Look at this one. See that cross surrounded by a circle lying on the ground? Now, if that's a rock, I'd sure like to know how it eroded that way. That seems a little odd to me. I thought that was pretty cool. And you see how the light is reflecting off of that center? I'm wondering if that isn't polished metal. And you know, as we go over the various images. And by the way, Neil Spence and Neville Thompson are turning out some truly spectacular images nowadays. And if you're not already aware of their Gigamacro catalogs, I'll put that link in the next video, and indeed in all the videos henceforth, so that you can enjoy them too, because they are doing some really amazing work nowadays. And we're going to continue looking at the tiny treasures that I found all around 3070. And what's interesting to me is that, you know, I don't always get to these Gigamacros right away. Sometimes it's days or even a week or more before I have time to go and do a concerted search. And so by the time I get to an image, it's been picked over pretty good. People have marked things, and of course I check them out to see if they found anything significant. And obviously I do credit them if I use anything they found. But I went to 3070 and it had already been kind of picked over, and I said, well, I'm going to do a grid search anyway. And I found probably 8 or 9 really neat anomalies in there that everyone had passed over. You know, that doesn't make me better. It just makes my eyes a little more strange than anyone else's. And of course, I didn't use every anomaly I found. They don't all adapt well to the X3D environment. But now take a look at this thing. Is that cool? That, my friends, is a cube. And it's got a round projection on the right corner, closest to us. And then it's got that triangular thing with a hole in the center, sticking straight out of the middle. Now, I think if somebody tried to tell me that's a rock, I'd have to use our technical phrase for this kind of person, which of course, as you all know, is bite me. Also notice, if you will, right next to it, a perfect cube buried in the sand. Look how rigidly perfect that is. No, those are mechanics. That's mechanical debris, what I call mech debris. And it's all over the place, as you well know. Some places there's more than others. Some places are completely barren. And yeah, you know, Ricardo, I've seen more than my share of holes in the rocks, being a rock hound, all the while I was growing up there in Iowa and spending a lot of time at gravel pits where they have big mounds of rocks and creek beds and other places. And yeah, it's very common to have a hole worn into a rock. But when the rock that hole is worn into is a perfect geometric shape, well, that's a different critter, isn't it? I think so. And yeah, Chris, it could be a clamp. I don't know. And here's another one. Now, this one is bizarre. Look at that, eh? And let your eyes settle into this for a moment before you reach a conclusion about it. Now, on the left side, we have that black ball sticking up out of whatever this is. And you follow to the right, you can see the right angles. And there's some stuff coming off the center of it. And then it kind of curves around. into almost a fishhook. So, was that a clamp used for closing a screen door? Form follows function, doesn't it? And that sure looks like a hook to me. And yes, I'm back, and there's Raymond. It could be an anchor stone. We've seen many variations of anchors around the world, from Neolithic and Iron Age times. There were seagoing people way back in what we would call Stone Age times. And they had to anchor their rafts somehow. Now, the thing that would mitigate against that, being an anchor stone, would be that, let me find it again. I gotta go back here, and there it is. There it is. Take another look at it. Hey, Mike, you made it. Quarter in the can by the door. You know the drill. Look at that. The reason I don't think it might be an anchor stone, Raymond, is that you wouldn't want to tie your rope to something that has a potential cutting edge to it. That wouldn't be a very good idea, especially in a turbulent sea where that point would saw back and forth on the rope. So it's something else, but what it is, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. Anyway, I'd like to open it up a little bit for some of your questions. And it can be anything you want. Any subject, really. MarsX3D, that's obvious, but, really anything you want to talk about. It's time to stump the Dave. And whoever wins Stump the Dave tonight has your choice of a 10-pound ham or an all-expense weekend with me. And let me just give you a hint. Take the ham. Seriously, take the ham. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, well, there is that. Yeah, let's have a look at it. Now, this is, again, part of the tiny treasures that are surrounding Neil Spence's beautiful Gigamacro of Curiosity 3070 with the Mahli, that's spelled M-A-H-L-I, named after the man who devised the camera. And it's interesting because normally the Mahli isn't very clear. But they've kind of taken the wraps off the cameras. And now the images we're getting suddenly, after 13 years on Mars, we're suddenly getting crystal clear images from the Mahli. So, I don't know. I'll get to your questions in a minute, but here's another piece of mech that I found around 3070. And if you notice on the right side, it's kind of cubical, and of course got that extension with the knob on it, and it just looks so not like a rock that it's really kind of silly to call it a rock, I would say. And let me get to some of these questions here. If I can bring myself back in. There we are. Okay. Yeah, I agree, John. That's pretty mind-blowing. And Ricardo, sorry, I don't see a cat there. If I did, I'd want to pet it and hold it and hug it and tell it I love it and that it will always be my friend. But I didn't feel that atavistic response within me, so it's probably not a cat. How long ago did Mars blow up? Well, you know, Dr. John Brandenburg has said that based on the decay rates of the isotopes xenon-129 and krypton, yes, there is an element called krypton-80, that he estimates the nuclear attack took place some 500 million years ago. Now, is that correct? I don't know. And have there been subsequent global scale disasters with close flybys of the comet Venus at one time? I don't know. Some people put it as recently as 10, 12,000 years ago. We just don't know. And until we have public, with quotes around it, public boots on the ground on Mars, where we can actually do archaeological assays of the artifacts up there, we're really not going to have much of an idea. And here's the problem. You can't really use radiometric dating on these things because it's all been totally skewed by the isotopes. And so what they'd be looking for is ideally organic material that's underground. And they would be able to apply some fashion of radiometric dating to that, although those of you who have looked into it, you probably are already aware that radiometric dating, like the carbon-14 test, is notoriously inaccurate. After you get past its limit of some 5,000 and change years, it becomes kind of moot as an effective dating system, but they'll grab onto anything. And Ricardo was asking, any idea what the size of that is? And I'm assuming we're talking about the last one that I showed. And the answer is not really. When I put up the video and you go to the link, the Giga Macro, you can see for yourself its size relative to the rover. And these things are really small, like a couple inches, except for maybe that cube. And Raymond Glassford is asking, have you found any software that auto-generates cross-view 3D from a 2D image? Well, the answer to that is a provisional yeah. It's very interesting. I've invested in a company called Looking Glass, and you can look that up on the web. And they have the first truly holographic display. And you can take pictures with your iPhone or Android, and it will create a flawless depth map from that image and create a true holographic image inside the frame. It's really amazing. And when I saw examples of their depth maps from 2D images, I said, I got to get my hands on this. I got to figure out a way to hack this and make it my own, because, you know, the depth mapping that I occasionally do, it's taken me the better part of a year to get reasonably good at it. And it's fairly arcane. I mean, yeah, you can do the basic simple stuff like cookie cutter cutouts and make 3D that's just fine for Facebook for their wiggle thing. But for actually really good 3D that passes the smell test, it takes a little bit more than that. Trust me on that. But But yeah, so there may be, we're supposed to get a shipment as investors. We're supposed to get it sometime in late April, maybe early May. And then I'll proceed to start experimenting with it and see just exactly how their depth mapping protocol works, which I'm sure is proprietary. I'm sure they don't want anybody to know about it. There may be other solutions too. I would like to find them, because there ain't no easy way at all. And hey, Granny, 43 Bigtail, always glad to have you here. The voice of experience and a true queen. Hi, James. And he's looking through a magnifier at a 65-inch TV, and there are cutting or carvings in the front of the large white slab-like rock to the far left. Yeah, some of that is subjective, of course. And finding markings of any kind is always a little bit dicey. But I would invite you to go to the link when the video comes out and extract that and share it with us or post it online. Always interested. I know I see a lot of markings. And like I say, I am aware of what's in any given image, having spent hours on it, processing the 3D. And I stay focused on the main anomaly. I try not to get off in the weeds, but I'm aware that they're there. And yeah, and you're right, Mike. He says, I know the weekly Friday shows take a lot of time, so I understand not doing weekly. Please, though, consider not less than every 2 weeks. I need my weekly fix. That's very kind of you, Mike. Thank you. And yeah, I think every 2 weeks I can handle, unless the fish are really biting this summer, then I may suddenly get busy. So, Ricardo, I don't know about that number, 2.3 million years. Maybe. You know, we just don't know. And arguably the most reliably scientific answer we have right now is Dr. Brandenburg's estimate on the rate of isotope decay as detected by the landers and orbiters on Mars. And Don has asked, have I had a chance to read any of Ingo Swann's books? I did, in fact, read Penetration. Yes, and their remote viewing of Mars was fantastic. And there's a more contemporary remote viewer who's very good, named John Vivanco. You may find his videos on YouTube, and you can find it too at the Edge of Wonder. They have that on their paying site, but you can get a free subscription. And I would recommend looking up John Vivanco's series on Psychic Spy because he goes into depth on remote viewing the face on Mars. And it was very interesting because, you know, when they remote view, maybe some of you don't know this, they don't tell them what it is. All they do is give them coordinates. That's it. And they hand the coordinates to somebody who doesn't know what's in the envelope and doesn't know what the targeting areas are. And then they hand it to the remote viewers who open it up, and then they start doing their thing. But he said that there was a door, an entrance in the side of the face, and it was a magnificent hall, very high ceiling, and carved stones and slabs and statues lying in ruins all about. They reminded him very much of Aztec or Mayan archaeologies. And so I do recommend it. John Vivanco, that's spelled Vivanco, Vivanco. John Vivanco on Edge of Wonder TV. Go sign up for a freebie And you can go watch his entire series on Psychic Spy. It's really good. And Ricardo says he recently read that a study using oxygen 18 isotope that dated a site to 450,000 years was found to be inaccurate and redated to 12 to 15,000. Well, that being said, you're exactly right. Perhaps some of you are aware of carbon dating that was done on a living snail in Hawaii that came back from different labs as being 25,000 years old. Hello? Those of us who have dealt with radiometric dating in the past are aware that it's just an absolute mishmash. You know, it's useful to a certain extent. Like, for example, the carbon-14 is good to 5,000 years. I think 5,027 or 5,270, something like that. And but after that, it's a shot in the dark. And it's based on the assumption that the carbon-14 has remained the same in the atmosphere over all that time, which is a pretty big assumption, wouldn't you say? So, and Martin, I don't know. I think we will know the truth about Mars, at least a sliver of it. We're discovering it now, aren't we? Through channels like this. And they don't want us to know the truth, but that doesn't stop us, does it? The quest moves forward. Chris, Jimmy, and myself. And now's a perfect time to do a commercial of sorts. Jimmy has written a terrific website called Mars Fam, like Mars Family, marsfam.net. And come on over there. Chris and Jimmy and I have, and Neil Spence, are opening the forum, I think this week. And where we can discuss anything you want to about Mars and post videos and images. And it's kind of a place where the grown-ups meet, okay? Away from all the crazies and trolls and people who make it their business to try to pull the rug out from under everybody else. Ha ha ha! The cross-eyed explorers are in the house. Good to see you, my friends, and thank you so much for your support, both emotional and otherwise. That is very much appreciated. I'm trying to read up on some of these planetary protectors, and good to see ya. And the remote viewer's name again, Ricardo, is John Vivanco or Vivanco. It's spelled V as in Victor, I, V as in Victor, A, NCO, Vivanco. And you can go to theedgeofwonder.tv and sign up for a free look and look at his entire series. It's called Confessions of a Psychic Spy. It's worth a look. You'll like it. It's cool. Well, let's see. And Kamikaze made it. That's 50 cents. Oh, brother. I know it's a stiff one, but, you know, actions have consequences, don't they? Sure they do. John Edward Vivanco. And John Hauser mentioned, do you believe in an Egyptian pyramid and Martian pyramid connection? Absolutely. We know that the pyramid is a widely repeated motif all over Mars. We found scores of pyramids, from tiny ones to ones that are mountainous in size. And apparently they have to do with energy, with the sharing of wireless energy. Hello, Nikola Tesla. And of course, Cairo, Egypt. Cairo in the Coptic language means camp of Mars. Oh, isn't that interesting? Because they just show up kind of fully developed like the Sumerians did. So the thought is that there was a cross pollination between Mars and ancient Earth. We know there were highly advanced civilizations on Earth before the Younger Dryas event. And so there was almost certainly migration back and forth, colonies, if you will, and a well-developed long-term civilization on Mars that when it looked like that planetary extinction event was on its way, the elite got out of there, headed to Earth, started their own camp of Mars in the Middle East, and built the Great Pyramid, which is a geodetic marker which exactly divides all the land masses on Earth. Which is the math on that is not trivial. That's circular trigonometry coupled with orbital mechanics and a whole bunch of other stuff, and yeah. And you're right, Raymond. Yeah, NASA does pick sites on purpose. And it always ticked me off that the very early Viking life experience found microbial activity immediately. And they said, oh, no microbes, no life. No, that was wrong. Nope. Excuse me? So the engineers who devised that test were complete fools. They got it wrong. And you spent millions, if not billions of dollars implementing and building their carefully researched and engineered laboratory, and then when it gets results, you say, oh, nope, sorry, wrong, that's wrong. Yeah, C14, you're right, Ricardo. Good description. A very interesting comment there, Kamikaze. Sorrow was written by Saint Germain, also known as Lucifer Reincarnate, the Red Shoe Club man. We won't go there tonight. That's a very grim thing and an absolute reality in our world. But you're correct, of course. And yes, pyramids are basically three-dimensional antennae. And their sizes and their number of sizes and the angles at which they decline are all relevant to the planar fields, the tensor fields that they resonate to, and the types of energy that they handle. And and I know, Ricardo, I know David Flynn's, I started reading him on the Earth-Mars connection. Wonderful man, and I know he passed away at a tragically early time, but I kind of bogged down in his writing, much to my shame. Hey, Chris is in the room, the mighty Maroney, the man himself. Welcome aboard, my friend. Very nice of you to stop by. And but yeah, I kind of bogged down in his writing, and had other things I needed to study, so I kind of left him behind. And yeah, they actually are. If you look, Chris says the pyramids in Egypt are actually 8-sided, and if you look at an aerial view of the Great Pyramid, you can see that this is so. The sides cant inwards very slightly. And Earl's there. Hi, Earl. Welcome aboard. Let me just catch up of a few of these things here. And Chris is busy. You know, Chris, I see your stuff pop up when I'm in the middle of my production pipeline, and I mark it for view later. And truthfully, I probably have half a dozen of your videos that I'm planning to look at, because I just don't have the time. I wish I had more free time. And this summer by Ned, I'm going to have the free time. I'm going to make it even if it means only putting a video out once a month. I'm going to catch up on all this stuff because I thrive on what you do, Chris. You're one of the best analysts out there, and your presentation is always so uniquely Moroni. So let's see. Yeah, the pyramids connect to different densities. And yeah, getting over the COVID is a real Ramona. Yeah, I'll extend a little credit to you there, my friend. But yeah, you need to be sure to bring those quarters next time. I've got parking meters I need to feed. And Ricardo, I think you're right. The Great Pyramid could indeed be an Earth-coupled harmonic resonator. And as I've mentioned in previous broadcasts, I've studied pyramid power since the 70s. I studied with the man himself, Dr. G. Pat Flanagan, a great genius, a highly strange individual, and a guy I admire a great deal. He wrote the original book, Pyramid Power, and did a bunch of research on pyramids. And at this very moment where I sit, I'm being irradiated by a microwave slot antenna that he designed in the late 70s that is the equivalent of an 18-foot tall pyramid. These things are really powerful, let me tell you. Some people have made the remark in the past that I always look kind of half-baked. I'm probably the straightest guy you know, but if I look that way, that's because I'm half-baked by pyramid energy all day long. And I got to catch up on some of these. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what I'll do. I'll go to our tiny treasures. Oh, no. We've got... Okay, now we're going to Percy 44. And I believe this is Neville. I haven't labeled it yet. But take a look at this context view while I catch up on some of these comments. Welcome aboard, Jerry Lahane, or Lahan, whichever way you pronounce it. Chris is always very kind, and we welcome you with open arms. We are a dedicated bunch of weirdos who have learned how to use X3D viewing like the elite scientists in the world. It's super simple. All the videos have tutorial links in the descriptions below. And most people can learn it in a matter of minutes. Point in fact, the exalted and omnipotent cross-eyed explorers are all very young people, and they've all learned to do it, and do it very, very well indeed. You found the Pyramid Power book, Ricardo? Holy moly. Those things are selling. I wish I kept mine because they're selling for like $300 to $500. And yeah, Chris, I'm looking forward to that. Your video on large ruined city with roadways and structures, etc. That sounds great. Okay, so back to this image that I'm showing you here. This is context view of Percy 44. And I'd like to draw your attention about a third of the way up on the left side. You'll see a cylinder lying there. This is something pointed out to me by my friend Phil Cox, who every now and then sends me something, and it's usually really good. And before I switch there, I'm going to answer Raymond's question. Any plans to include any Mars reconnaissance orbiter images in my videos? Some seem to show extensive cities with some intact structures. And those images are difficult to dig up, though I know they redact them, don't they? And here's the reason why I stay away from that for the most part, Raymond. It's not because I don't want to, but because when you're looking down from orbit, there's precious little 3D to be seen. And it's really tough to create a 3D image from an orbital image. Now, I did one last week with Neil Spence's orbital image from Dawn 122 of Ceres, and we saw that beautiful arch there. And normally speaking, though, orbital images are normally better for flat viewing with a pH flat. Anyway, take a look at this pillar that Phil Cox sent over to me. Could that be just a regular rock? Yeah, I suppose so. But it kind of looks like very weathered writing on there. And of course, it looks to have a capital, a chapter on the left end, the round top of the pillar. And look on the right end, and you'll see a white, what looks like a number 2. So, is that happenstance or what? And look just to the left of that number 2. There's a carved angle there. It's not a right angle, but it's a carved angle. These things are all very suspicious to me. And yeah, of course, Ricardo, of course, it's a pillar made from ordinary rock. That's what people make pillars out of, isn't it? It's ordinary rock. It sure looks like it's taken a beating, though, hasn't it? Now I'm going to go back down here. And here I am back again in all my savage splendor. And, you know, I've been working with Jimmy Roberts. It's interesting, Kamikaze. I'm reading your comment there. He's got a booming Oregon energy pyramid. Well, you know what? I have one of Billy Carson's Oregon pyramids sitting under my monitor that he sent to me. It's a nice little thing. Dangerous. Boy, don't ever drop that thing on the floor. You step on it, that's the end of your foot. But yeah, I've got the 18-foot pyramid equivalent in a microwave slot antenna designed by Pat Flanagan under my desk, and it's baking my lower half in tensor field energy. And so anyway, I was going to say, Jimmy Roberts and I are discussing 2479 and some of the things that he's found with the NavCam there. And I'm going to take this opportunity to remind you of two things. MarsLife.net. That's where you can find Jimmy and Chris and myself and Neil Spence as moderators. It's a new place where the adults meet to have rational discussions and share images. And who knows, it may come to a time when YouTube boots us off that'll where we all end up. I don't know. I hope not. I mean, I hope we have lots of traffic over there. But there are times where I get pretty peeved with YouTube. And you know what? It's let's be honest. I mean, YouTube doesn't notify us when we click the bell. It shadow bans us. It puts a cap on our membership. My channel was growing at about the rate of roughly 100 people a month. Not huge, but a steady trickle. Well, for the last 3 months, it's been almost identically the same. And I get that I'm a niche within a niche, okay? But my growth has been more consistent than that. Kamikaze, you'd love meeting Billy Carson. He's a super dude. He's a very intelligent man. Very much of a go-getter. Very much. And Cosmic Jet Pants, hello. You made it. Thank you. Anyway, we're all fortunate to know Billy Carson. We had such a good time at that 6th annual Mars conference down in Mobile. That's right, Mobile. Back in 2000, was it 16 or 17? Oh no, senior moment. But we had a great time hanging out and going to breakfast and talking and carrying on and just being crazies. So anyway, back to the subject at hand, and that was that we've been looking at 2479, and I got the raw images. Okay, I went to the Analyst Notebook, and I downloaded the stereo anaglyph images of not only the individual frames but the mosaics. And I did my little magic on this end, separating out the red and the blue channels, and created X3D from it. And yeah, it's true, Chris, isn't it? We've all experienced that stunted growth when it comes to new subscribers. And that's a good sign, because they don't want us talking, do they? Do not talk amongst yourselves. These things are forbidden. You will comply. And for that, we have our MarsX3D technical phrase, bite me. Okay. You know, I couldn't give you an update on Insanity Tech on if you're regarding to programs we know of that are working on Mars. Boy, that's a can of worms, and maybe not the time to talk about it here, but yeah, there's a bunch going on Mars, if you're to believe the UAP's unacknowledged access programs. Black programs, in other words. Oh, very cool, Jerry. Designed the first 3 Mars rovers as ghostwriter for Star Trek. That's wonderful. A real star on board. Anyway, okay, I'm getting off topic here. So, here's a 3D, X3D. Take a look at this from the nav cam. Now, the nav cams are not particularly high-res images. They're kind of grainy, kind of crappy. But I believe this image has been redacted, and I'll explain why in just a moment as I turn off my chin moving in the background. I'm going to zoom in on this hill, and when I do, you can read what I've put there. Okay, now if you're looking at this in 3D and it's on a sufficiently large monitor, you will see pixels and sections of the image that are floating, because whoever did the redacting on it failed to place sections of the picture on their proper parallax. Now, look at that white spot on the side of that hill. It is heavily redacted. And notice that it's got floaters, things floating out in front of it. That will not if I took a stereo picture with my stereo camera, even at that distance, and blew it up, it would still be in stereo. All the pixels would align to the lines of parallax. But these are not aligned. That means this image has been tampered with. And now, look on the right end of that white image. There's a perfect circular smiley face with a smile, 2 eyes. You see it? Now, they've put Easter eggs in on us before. Little things on the lunar pictures and other images. Just sometimes kind of flipping us off. Saying, yeah, we know you're looking at this. So that's pretty rude, I think. And we're coming up on the bottom 15 of our broadcast. And so I'm going to try to answer a few more questions. And yeah, you're right, Kamikaze. There have been any number of people. For example, Colonel John Bearden. I may have the first name wrong. He actually worked at Huntsville, at Redstone Arsenal, when I was there with space. And he wrote the very famous book called The Excalibur Briefing, which is about scalar weapons. And man, that was 25, 30 years ago. And scalar weapons are off the charts, scary things that they've been working on for decades. But he patented, you can look it up, Colonel John Bearden, like the beard that you have on your face with an E-N, Bearden. And he invented what's called the Motionless Energy Generator, the MEG. And you can Google that, Bearden, MEG. And it was a production item that was going to be sold at Home Depot that made enough power to power a normal household with no fuel. It worked entirely off of 0-point energy. He was the lead physicist on the scalar projects and on their 0-point energy research. The man's a serious genius. And they were getting ready to introduce that at Home Depot, and all of a sudden it disappeared. Maybe they've even scrubbed the web. Maybe you can't even Google it. I haven't checked lately. But yeah, there's always someone who's going to pull the rug out from underneath you if you come up with alternative energy sources. And thank you for all those likes, James and everyone else. That's my pay. That and eating the leftover Twizzlers. Those likes kind of power this channel and this small little one crazy man operation. And I agree with you, Chris, that white shape could definitely be structures. And when you look at it magnified in X3D, and you can see the things that have been redacted that haven't been placed back in proper parallax, it's obvious they're hiding something. And my bet would be something that large would be structures, some kind of facility. They don't want you to see it. And yeah, it looks like, Dowd said it looks like Smiley has a slanted hat on too. And yeah, there are all kinds of items in the hole on the left. Let's go back to that for a minute, okay? And just take a look at that again, NX3D. Now, I'm aware that some of you don't have large monitors, and it's a little hard to see what I'm talking about. But you really do need to see this in X3D, because you'll plainly see things floating where they're not supposed to be, and that entire white area, which I believe is a facility, like Chris pointed out, has been redacted. And they put a big smiley face there to say, we know that you know, and we don't care, and neener, neener, neener. That's their technical equivalent of bite me. And thank you, Ricardo. Colonel Tom Bearden. You think I would know better, but it's been 25 years. And if you can get your hands on his book, The Excalibur Briefing, those are getting rare and hard to find. But it's a fabulous read. And yeah, Kim, good to see you, Kim. I noticed you earlier, but I didn't say hi. Yeah, well, Ricardo, I know about keyboards. My hands seem to do that. And Cosmic Jet Pants, yeah, that's been a subject of discussion here repeatedly about the Mars catastrophe occurring some 500 million years ago based upon the rate of isotope decay determined by Dr. John Brandenburg from the various probes on and off planet. Oh, dear. Raymond is saying, could you open your next live hang with your bio with your career activities way back to the good old days? Brief and impress the doubters. Well, I'm not here to impress anyone, Raymond. And I think if you knew the full scope of my career, you'd actually not be impressed at all. And yes, there is a rod sticking up there. Chris, you got a set of eyeballs on you, man. And yeah, there's stuff all over this stuff. Anyway, here's what's happening. I'm studying Alan's videos on how to create, how to fool Photoshop into opening IMG and data files from the Analyst Notebook. Oh, you'll see it, Ricardo. You'll see the smiley face. It's on the right side, and it's in a circle that is as wide as the right hand of the image. I think I said left. I meant right. It's a wide circle, and you'll see the mouth is almost vertical, and you got your two eyes, one above the other. And it's likely, Don, that the pixelation is what you're seeing in the craters. But you see, when I get these pulled down as data and IMG files and properly process them, we should end up with much, much clearer images. So that's one of the things I'm working on this week, is to bring that to fruition and see what the results are. And again, my thanks to Alan over at Mars the Second Genesis. Fine new channel. He's recovering, his now third week of recovering from the COVID. And we all wish him well, healing up quickly and get back to work putting videos online. He has 3 videos, a 3-part series on how exactly to do that, to download IMG and data files from the Analyst Notebook. That's where the big boys go, and tricking Photoshop into opening them. And then you have access to the high-res images. Boy, I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to do that. And Ramona's asking, did Colonel Bearden take Tesla's findings? Well, any forward-thinking researchers, physicists, have based their work on the findings of Nikola Tesla. The famous quote from Einstein when he was asked by a reporter, how does it feel to be the world's greatest genius? And he said, I don't know, you have to talk to Nikola Tesla, in his typical self-effacing way. Tesla truly was a man out of time, and we were simply not ready for him. J.P. Morgan hadn't squelched his idea, and Westinghouse, because he came to them after he developed the polyphase generator. Nobody, see, people didn't believe that it could be done, that you could create rotating electromagnetic fields. And Tesla said, well, yeah, you can, and did it. But in the process of doing that, of course, he was working on his wireless transmission of energy at Wardenclyffe and then, out in Colorado as well. And he went to J.P. Morgan and says, I'm ready to roll with this. I need funding to do the Finnish experiments at the tower in Colorado. And we're good to go. And he turned him down. He wouldn't do it. He says, I can't put a meter on it. I can't charge people for wireless energy. Very short-sighted. And had he not done that, we'd be living in a Star Trek world. We would have had cell phones probably in the 30s or 40s. Would have had television sooner. He had remote control, boats and weapons and death rays and all kinds of stuff. He was way ahead of his time. And Raymond, thank you for stopping by, my friend. A long sword salute. And glad to see you, and glad to see all of you. And I'm going to go back before we wrap things up, and I'm going to show you my two favorite tiny treasures from the Mollycam. And that's this one. Look at that cube with those things sticking out. Isn't that cool? And that beautiful cube buried in the sand right to the right of it. And people say those are rocks? Come on. Yeah, Don, there's a wealth of material on the Analyst's Notebook. Once you get familiar with working your way around that, it's pretty good resource to have. And by the way, I'm going to also remind you about MarsLife.org, where you get 360 views and high res of everything. They've even put Percy up now. Then here's that other item I wanted you to look at. Let your eyes relax into this for a moment because the shading is a little complicated. But you can see that black sphere on the left, a marble, a knob. And then it's attached to that, looks like a stamped piece of sheet metal that over on the right curves around almost into a kind of a fish hook. Isn't that wild? That's going up this week. And there, as I say, all kinds of tiny treasures that were picked up by the Mollycam. And of course, you guys are getting to see them first. And these are in the raw format. They're not in their finished state with all the data bar and all the other pretties that I put on it to make it eye-catching and hopefully viewable. More viewable, make more sense to people. But I figure you guys can handle it. And Martin, you're right. It is all about oil. It's all about money and power and control. We all know that. We all know that. Their day is coming, and that's why they don't like people like Chris Maroney or Jimmy Roberts or myself or Neil Spence or Neville. People that are pulling the curtain back on the lies and showing you clear evidence that what we always thought was true just isn't. It just isn't. History and things in general is utterly different than what we've been told. So anyway, it's about that time. Time for me to go be a house husband. Something I do very, very well indeed. I have a 4th degree black belt in that to go with my, now I know, I don't want to be a big shot here, but yes, I have a pink belt in Calypso. So don't mess with me, okay? This is your buddy Dave. over MarsX3D.